the tomatoes are still sitting over here and they need worked up like really bad. They're starting to draw gnats. So I'm going to turn those into sauce. Over here, I just washed my jars. These are from Saturday. It's corn, blackberries, and green beans. That's what I got canned. And then in here, I just have my jars, rings, and I need to add lids in there to just sterilize it. And then I took all the rings off of these and just throw them in because I'm sure all will have more than 12 pints. So I'll have to go back down and go get some more jars. This year's garden has been doing absolutely phenomenal, so we are drowning in tomatoes. This is actually a few weeks ago, and I'm recording a voiceover because a lot of you guys said that the video quality, you liked the interaction of me talking to the camera, but that the quality was just really bad. So I did order a mic, and that should be here soon, so hopefully I can go back to like talking to the camera type of videos. But until then, I will just continue to do voiceovers until that mic comes in the mail. This was my second or third time getting tomatoes from the garden, and I ended up making sauce this day, but since then we have gotten so many tomatoes. I've given away probably 4 or 5 gallon buckets of tomatoes to people, and we still have just canned so much stuff with tomatoes. If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen it. I canned a lot of diced tomatoes. We don't need pasta sauce this year just because I have leftover pizza sauce and pasta sauce from last year. So we need to eat through those first. So I'm not going to worry about canning anymore. But something that I did not even realize that we ate so much of until recently was tomato sauce. I use it if I just want to make a quick sauce and I don't really want spaghetti sauce. I will just put regular pasta sauce, well, tomato sauce into a saucepan and then add whatever herbs, garlic, onion, whatever I want to add to it just to make it a little bit different. And then also we use it on pizza a lot and rice. So I'm trying to can up quite a few pints of that just because typically whenever a recipe does call for sauce, it's always a small can. It's never really a big can unless I'm putting it on pasta or something. So I will always can it in these pints. It just makes it a lot easier. I do prefer to keep our tomato sauce plain. I know that usually whenever you buy it from the grocery store or whatever, it'll have some garlic, maybe some onion powder and stuff in it. But I like mine plain. That way it is a very basic and I can do whatever I want with it and I can tweak it however I need to. If you work up tomatoes a lot, then having an electric food mill, this one is a tomato strainer specifically, but you can also do like jams and jellies. You can run other soft foods through it, but it is such a lifesaver for time because if I'm doing a small batch, then I will still use my manual food mill, but this one is just perfect for whenever I'm working up a huge batch. I do not heat up my sauce at all or cook it down for any amount of time. I just run it straight through the food mill and then put it directly into my jars. And I guess this would just be considered cold packing, but I do add citric acid to it just to help bring up the acidity levels just because it's recommended for water bath canning. But I do not heat mine up just because you're going to see towards the very end of the video that there is a little bit of water left in the bottom of the jar. That does not bother me. Whenever I shake the jar up, it incorporates back into the sauce and it honestly cooks out whenever I'm cooking it on whatever I'm cooking it on. So if I am making a pasta sauce, then I usually let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes and that extra liquid will cook out then. But having the little bit of extra water in my sauce does not bother me. But also, I'm using Roma tomatoes. So they are a paste tomato and specifically they're really good for canning. So sometimes they're even sold as canners. Like if you buy them at a market or something, they'll be sold as canners. So they have more meat to them and less water. So that really helps out whenever you're making anything that is saucy, just so that you're not left with so much liquid. Because if you're using like an heirloom tomato or something like a beefsteak, you're gonna get more liquid. So if you're using a tomato like that, then I would definitely recommend cooking it down before adding it to your jars, just because you are gonna have more liquid left over. You guys will have to let me know down in the comments what your favorite things to make with tomatoes are, because so far I've made diced tomatoes. I made Rotel, chili ready tomatoes, and then I've done ketchup and barbecue sauce, tons of tomato sauce, and I think that may be it for this year that I've canned. But oh, and I've done a bunch of salsa. So you guys will have to let me know ideas, because right now this is a couple weeks later and we still have 5-gallon buckets of tomatoes coming out of the garden. I've still been giving them away, but we still have a lot to work up. I'm working on the second batch of the tomato sauce right now. I've got 9 pints in the canner behind me right now. They're water bathing. And I put the canner lid on. You're probably not supposed to, but I did, just because you can hear it boiling in there, but it keeps so much heat from coming out into the kitchen. So it keeps the house from heating up so much. I've got the last of the tomatoes that I'm going to do today in the sink. There's still the entire basket. Those are still not ready. So I'm going to let those go a little bit longer, and I'll do something different with those. Whatever sauce I can up today will probably be all that I can for this year. Unless I just get a lot of tomatoes, I'll can more later in the season. But for now, I'm thinking this will be enough, hopefully. We use quite a bit of tomato sauce just because last year I made pizza sauce, but recently I made a pizza with just fresh sauce on it and added my own fresh herbs and salt to it, and Ben liked it so much better than the canned pizza sauce, and I did too. It tasted just fresh. So that's what I'm going to do from now on, is just start putting sauce, like tomato sauce, on it, and then adding fresh herbs and stuff. So this tomato sauce will be what we'll use for pizza sauce. We use it in our Spanish rice. So anytime that we have rice, well, not every time, but every time we have Spanish rice, I'll add a jar of this to the Spanish rice just to add flavor and color. So we go through a lot, but I need to see what I have left over in the cellar, because I know there's some down there. I'm not sure how much though. So I need to see how much I have in the cellar and then determine how much more. But I still have some in the sink, some in the strainer, but I needed to get my bowl emptied out. So I'm going to put lids and rings on these, and then hopefully that'll be done water bathing in a second, and I'll get these in there. And all I'm putting in these jars is just citric acid. I did not even add salt, because whenever I make my pizza, I like to add salt to the pizza right then. Since sharing about what we can, and especially I've been sharing a lot of that over on Instagram and Facebook this year, so everybody wants to know how I decide what I can, and to me it's very simple. I just look at what we buy from the grocery store, and I want to make that at home instead of having to spend the money at the grocery store. So hopefully that makes sense, but I just look at my pantry, like what do we use in our meals already. I don't really get that unique with my peppers. I know a lot of people make like cowboy candy and stuff like that. I've never really gotten into all that. And then meals in a jar are really nice to have. And then just basic things I think are a lot easier in my opinion, just because it's easier if you have basics and you can build off those with your meals. But for me, I just like to keep it basic, and I really have not gotten all that unique with what I can. These just came out of the canner. These need to go in the canner, and then I need to work on, those need to go to the cellar. I need to label those and they need to go down. And then I need to clean up all this, but we're getting there. And then there's another round in the canner right now. So we're making a lot of progress. To be honest, I think deciding what you want to can, it's going to be different for everybody because everybody eats differently, but it also is based on why are you canning. So are you canning to make your grocery bill more affordable, kind of like we do, or are you doing it as a hobby and you're wanting to get really eccentric and just come up with all these fun new ideas for canning? Then that is going to be very different than the everyday like homesteading. Just, I don't know, we do it to save money just so that we're not spending money at the grocery store. We do it to be very budget friendly. So I am keeping track of what we've spent on our garden this year, and then all that I'm getting out of our garden and what I'm canning with it. And I do plan on doing a cost breakdown still. I know a lot of you guys, whenever I mentioned that earlier this year, were very interested in that, and I'm very interested in seeing the cost breakdown myself. And I can already tell that it is going to be way, way worth it, just because this has been our best garden year yet. So this may be a little bit of an outlier, and I'll probably mention that in the video also, because typically our garden does not do this well. And I'm not sure if it's just because we have built up the soil so much and we've really spent time trying to build upon that, because we do add a lot of manure at the end of the season and stuff. And at the beginning, a couple years ago, our garden was not, our land here is really rocky, so we have had to build up the soil a lot. So I'm not sure if that is why our garden has done really good, but also I think getting it out earlier played into that, which we do plan on getting our garden out earlier from now on. And then also just continuing to build on the soil. So we will see how next year's garden does, but I will mention that this garden has been much better than any garden we've ever raised in the past. So I know it's going to be worth it this year, and I'm sure it will be in the future years also, but this year I think will be a little bit of an outlier, just because I don't know why our garden is doing so good. There's nothing we're doing differently, growing wise or tying up wise or weeding wise or anything like that. All that is the same. The only thing different is we've built up our soil more and that we got it out earlier. But like I said, we plan on doing that every year still to continue. Thank you for spending the day with me in the kitchen canning, but that is going to be it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe.